Alright, peace. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, give honor and praise to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. Give a double honors to 7130 South Chicago that taught me this truth. Give a double honors to all the brothers and sisters that the Creator has awoken in these last days. With that being said, peace and shalom. Alright, brothers and sisters, we're going to do a lesson today. We're going to be talking about the title of this lesson that we're going to be talking about today is the Archie effect, right? And the reason why I entitled this the Archie effect is because if you know anything about the show that is called All in the Family, Archie Bunker was basically a bigot, right? And he was brought up in a curriculum of the country that they had disdain towards people that was not Americans, that was not considered Americans, right? And we see this in his actions and how he viewed the world, right? Now, the introduction, I believe, is just basically talking about the good old days, see? And see, when I look at that, I envision that as the good old days, meaning that when the so-called white man, see, he was proud to be a racist, right? He was proud to discriminate against people of color, or people of different nations and demographics per se, right? They glorified in that. See, during the 1800s and things of this nature and before, see, they used to do things like hang people on trees, hang our ancestors on trees. They used to rape the women and children and things of this nature. They set up Jim Crow laws in the country, black codes, things of this nature, that discriminated against so-called blacks in this country because of the color of their skin, right? But within these different movements, like the abolitionist movement, later on, you had the civil rights movement, you had the Nation of Islam movement, then after that, you had the Black Panther Party movement. You had all these different various movements that eventually, especially up under the civil rights movement, it allowed the so-called black man to develop what you would call, they developed for us basically the 13th and the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, right? But when we look at the Constitution itself, the Constitution was racist, right? It's because when they was talking about all men are created equal, and this is the, home of the free and all that type of stuff, they had slaves, brothers and sisters. And even in the first advent of the documents of the Constitution and what you would call the Declaration of Independence and things of this, see, they classified us as what? 3/5 of a human being, brothers and sisters. See, us and the so-called Native Americans, right? So when we look at the Archie Bunker effect, we see Archie Bunker came from that type of mentality because the American system came up out of Europe, right? And we know that Europe was practicing what you would call white supremacy. See, this is what they was preaching. And see, in the school systems in this country, this is what they taught. See, they taught that George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, the presidents of the United States, that they were great people. But in actuality, they were slave owners. See, they dehumanized our people. And see, really, they don't even understand who is it that they were dehumanizing, right? Because just like the Creator washed away from us the knowledge itself. He did that to various people throughout history. But we got to understand that when we brought over here in the 1600s and the 1700s, things of this nature, they had an understanding that they was bringing the nation of Israel over to this country. They understood that. So we go back to Archie. Archie had to come to grips that the things that he once glorified in, they were no more. He had to change that type of mentality. And it was very difficult for him. It's because, racism is not, you're not born a racist, right? That's something that's taught to you. See? And also, we got to look at this too. Every person on the face of this planet, I got to backtrack. Every person on the face of this planet dealing with nations, various people, we're all born for a certain type of purpose, right? So this is why I had to reframe what I'm saying is that you're going to have people that's going to be born for righteousness, and you're going to have people that's born for destruction, see? So when we look at the character of Archie Bunker, he was born in a society that looked down on other individuals, right? Especially people of color. So when he says, when they singing that song, they just talking about the days when they was living in the country and, they didn't have a problem with calling a black man a nigger. See, they glorified in that. They was proud to be a racist, right? So when we looking at him, he had to, cause see, it started with his household. See, his wife and his daughter and the daughter husband. See, they didn't have that mentality. See, but him, he was raised a certain type of way. And like I say, it was very difficult for him to change those type of things, see? And why am I using him as an example? Why are we calling it the Archie Bunker effect? It's because America itself is a system that was brought up on racism, brothers and sisters. That's what it was brought in on. What we would call the Renaissance era, the 1400s and on down. See, America created a system off of genocide, murder, right, rape, and robbery, see, and the discrimination of other people, right? And they was proud to do that. And see, they still proud even to this day. You know what I'm saying? That the educational system is flawed. See, all of this type of stuff. So when we talk about the Archie Bunker effect, see, he had to change whether he liked it or not. See, because he couldn't walk around and dehumanize or discriminate against so-called black people, right? Because of the color of their skin, right? And he saw so-called black folks, or what they would call colored people, standing up to white folks. What are some of the changes? They was moving in his neighborhood, right? You had the character of George Jefferson. You know, he called Archie a hunky. You know, he stood firm in the face of the so-called white man. When back in the day you couldn't do that. See, you had to bow your head down. When they walked down the street, you had to get on the side of the road. When you traveling from different states, certain gas stations, you couldn't even go into the gas stations because what? They didn't want black people in there. And see, look, they still, believe it or not, certain parts of the country still practice that. You know, Oprah Winfrey, she went into a high-end store and they basically told her they don't serve niggas, you know. And she was like, do you know who I am? They didn't care, you know. They didn't care. They're not gonna serve her. And we still dealing with that spirit even to this day. The spirit of, you know, I'm superior and you inferior. This is the mindset of the people even to this day, brothers and sisters. When we saw Eric Gardner, right, Trayvon Martin, when we saw George Floyd, how they was displayed before the cameras, we saw white supremacy at its finest. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over a lesson. And why am I saying that? What does Archie got to do with what we talking about? Because the American system too, see, they're about to be wiped off the scene. See, they're about to be wiped off the scene. And you have a lot of people in the country, even to this day, they still harbor racism. They still have racist ideologies, Democrats and Republicans. So what is the change that's going to happen today? That this system is going to cease to exist. That's what the change is going to be. And any person that don't want to get down with the changes of the Creator, they're going to be wiped off the scene just as well, right? So let's look at some things, right? Let's turn to the 4th chapter of the book of Daniel, dealing with Nebuchadnezzar. It says, Daniel 4:1, Nebuchadnezzar, king unto all people, nations, languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you, right? So it says, I thought it good to show the signs and the wonders that the high power had wrought towards me, right? Because see, when Nebuchadnezzar is talking, brothers and sisters, Nebuchadnezzar is not talking about the God of the universe. He talking about his gods. That's who he talking about. So Nebuchadnezzar himself don't even understand who put them in power. They think it's the gods of the Babylonians that put them in power. And that's the same mentality that America has. America think that she was put in power by who? Jesus Christ. See? They claim to be Christians. Like I said before, the term Christ means anointed one. Right? So what are they saying? That they are the mouthpiece of the Creator. So when they was creating the system in this country of racism and discrimination, they felt as though that the Creator gave them the right to do that from a righteous standpoint of view. See, when they was bringing the so-called black man into slavery, when they conquered the Native Americans and things of this nature in this country, they felt as though that they gods put them in power to do this. But they don't even understand themselves why they in power. And this is the same mentality that Nebuchadnezzar has, right? So it says the third verse. How great are his signs and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in my house and flourishing in my palace. See, look at that. So what is he doing? He living deliciously. See, he's living deliciously. Let's look at some. Let's turn to the book of Psalms 49 and 11. Book of Psalms 49 and 11. The book of Psalms 49 and 11 says, their inward thoughts is that their houses shall continue forever. This is the mentality of the people today. See, the elites and the masses, right? They believe that this system is going to be on the same forever. See, because really, this is their heaven. See, this is their heaven. 401k plans, retirement, money, you know what I'm saying? You can be a multi-billionaire or the super rich, or you can live middle class, and then you got the lower class. See, this is the mentality of what? Of the masses today. See, they think that the system is always going to be on the scene. If it's an epidemic or a crisis in the country, they feel like America is going to always bail themselves out of this situation. So it says, in their dwelling places to all generations, they call their lands after their own name. See? So this is what they was doing when they was running around conquering people. See? According to the history, America was supposed to be named after Amerigo Vespucci. See? Right? So we turn back to the 4th chapter of the book of Daniel, the 3rd verse. It says, how great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in my house, flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Sleep out. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came in the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. So he brought in all the wise men of Babylon, right? You know, his councilmen that was around him and things of this nature, right? But at the last, Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God, or my Elohim, in whom is the spirit of the holy powers. And before him I told the dream, saying, O Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy powers is in thee. So, like I say, he thinks that his gods or his powers are the ones that put them in power. So when he's speaking to all the wise men, they couldn't get an interpretation. Who do he has to go to? He got to go to an individual that he put in slavery. Because the individual that he put in slavery had an understanding on what? Prophecy. Interpretation, people interpreting people's dreams and things of this nature. So it says, and no secret trouble thee. Tell me, matter of fact, I'm going to start at the 8th verse again. It says, but at last Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belteshazzar, according to the name of my power, and in whom is the spirit of the holy powers. And before him I told the dream, saying, O Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the holy powers is in thee, and no secret troubled thee. Tell me the vision of my dream that I have seen, and the interpretation thereof. And there were the visions of my head and it says, thus were the visions of my head in my bed. I saw, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. The leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all. The beasts of the field had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the boughs thereof, and all flesh was fed of it. And I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, behold, a watcher and Holy One came down from heaven. He cried aloud and said thus, hew down the tree, cut off the branches, shake off the leaves, scatter his fruit. Let the beasts let the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls from his branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of his root in the earth, even with a band of iron and of brass and the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven. And his portion be with the beasts and the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's heart, and let a beast's heart be given unto him. And let 7 times pass over him. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and a demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of man, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of man. Now we gotta understand what is the basis of man. These are the most disrespectful people on the face of the planet. They don't care about human life. They don't care about the planet, right? They cause dissension amongst people. This is the basis of man, right? So it says, this dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now thou, O Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation thereof, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation, but thou art able, for the spirit of the holy ones is in thee. Right? 19 verse. Then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was astonished for 1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spake and said, Belteshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation trouble thee. Belteshazzar answered and said, my master, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof to thy enemies. The tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto the heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much, in it was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon whose branches the fowls of the heavens had their habitation. It is thou, O king, that thou art grown and become strong, for thy greatness is grown, and reacheth unto heaven. and thy dominion to the end of the earth. See, because why? When Neb came into power, see, he didn't just take the nation of Israel into captivity. He conquered the nations around about. See, and they all was congruent in what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? The nations, they bought into his philosophy, his teaching. See, whether they liked it or not, they bought into that. And this is the mindset of the country today. See, the whole world is following America. It's because America is the Roman Empire rebuilt. Let's look at scripture. Let's turn to the 13th chapter of the book of Revelation. 13th chapter, book of Revelation. The 13th chapter of the book of Revelation. I'm going to start at the 11th verse. And it says, and I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So, who is this coming out of the earth? This is America, brothers and sisters. See? And the 2 horns represents what? Politics and religion. See? And it says, and he spake, it says, and I beheld another beast come up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb. See? Because when they came on the scene, they presented themselves as what? Christians, brothers and sisters, that they were under the influence of the Creator. When they came to America, they professed themselves to be godly. But what happened? They slaughtered the Native Americans. See? One of the ways that they was able to defeat them is because they understood that they followed the buffalo. And they killed their livestock. They killed women and children. And the ones that they didn't kill off, they created what you would call institutions, schools, colleges, grammar schools, things of this nature, to teach them the ways of who? Of the Americans, or what you would call the pilgrims. They taught them false Christianity. They taught them about Easter and Christmas and all this type of stuff. This is what they was teaching. But while they was teaching this, they was dehumanizing them, see? But the people thought that they were godly at first, because the founding fathers in the 1400s, this is how they presented themselves when they started to come over here to what they would call the New World. And once they got their foot in the door, they started to do what? They started to slaughter those people. So it says, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him. Who is that? Who they talking about? They talking about Rome, y'all. See, it's because America is coming in the spirit of the Roman Empire. Remember, Rome fell, right? Rome fell. So the revising of the Roman Empire starts with who? America. She's the modern day Egypt. So it says, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them that dwelt therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wounds was healed. And see, we can go all the way back to what? The Babylonian mystery system that was created by who? Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. See? But we talking about Rome is because, see, Rome had failed. Because Rome was following the Babylonian mystery system just as well, brothers and sisters. So it says, so when they created this system over here, they got it from their mama, see, which is who? The Roman Catholic Church, aka the Roman Empire. This is who they was emulating, see? And it says, and he doeth great wonders to make fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of man. So how's he doing that? Through what? Through their military. The inventions that they created during that time. See, they didn't have hydrogen bombs back then. They weren't dropping bombs out of the plane. But they had instruments of war, see? That's how they made fire come down from heaven. See, through their instruments, they weapons of war. And it says, and deceived them that dwelt on the earth by the means of those miracles. See, the nations that followed her, see, they was deceived by it. And they was able to come in and use different people against their own people. So it says, those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwelt on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. See? And what is the image? The image is what? They politics and they religion. Is because Christianity is nothing but Christianity is nothing but another form of Roman Catholicism. The political system is nothing but another form of the Roman Empire. See? And it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So what? If you're not following Jesus Christ, see, all of this stuff, you're going to be put to death. This is the mentality that they had when they came into the country. So it says, and he calls of both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foot. And that's symbolic of you doing what? The mark in the head is symbolic of you doing what? Welcome into your life the spirit of the adversary. It's because the adversary is doing what? He's motivating them. And the hand is symbolic of what? You engaging in the system. See? So it says, and no man might buy or sell save he that hath the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. See? And what is that symbol? See, you're not going to be able to do commerce in the system. See? From a higher level and a low level. If you don't accept their ideology, you're not going to be able to move in the system. But let's go back to the 4th chapter of the book of Daniel. Because Daniel is interpreting the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had. See? 21st verse. Whose leaves were fair and fruit thereof much. In it was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon whose branches the fowls of the heaven had their habitation. So the nations, they followed the system. See, they followed it. The customs and the traditions of the systems, the nations around the world, they was following after this. And see, this is what we doing even to this day. See, the nation, the masses is still following this system. Christianity, they still following this stuff. And the nations of Islam, all the people have been drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So it says, and it's thou, O king, that are grown and become strong, for thy greatness is grown, and reacheth unto heaven, and thy dominion to the end of the earth. So, you know, when we look at Nebuchadnezzar, see, they was able to control the natural resources that's in the ground. They control the water, the air, see, the mentality of the people. And that's the same mentality that America has. See, she has an influence over the way people think. But now, she's going to do what? Now the Creator is doing what? He's erasing that away from. Do you know that France is talking about doing a conference with the BRICS countries? See, people don't even understand that the world is going upside down right now. See? So, America too, she had a great influence over the world, the countries. When you go to Saudi Arabia and you go get that oil, they was able to build a currency system. You had to come and get up under the dollar. If you don't get up under the dollar, you're not going to be able to make no money. See, this is how powerful America was. She set up a financial system. She set up an educational system. She don't care if you worship your gods, but as long as you bow down to her. See, this is the mentality. And Nebuchadnezzar represents what? The presidents of the United States of this country, because they all have that spirit on them. So it says, and whereas the king saw a watcher and Holy One coming down from heaven and saying, hewn down the tree. See, and who was the watcher? It's Yah. See, that's the Creator. He's the one that's coming down in the angelic host. See? And when they talk about hewn down the tree, that means what? They're going to destroy the system. Because why? They have fulfilled their lot. Nebuchadnezzar don't even understand that he was brought on the scene to chasten the nation of Israel, to take them into captivity, brothers and sisters. But in his arrogancy, he's thinking that what? His gods did this. It says, hewn down the tree, destroy it, yet leave the stump of the root thereof in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass in the tender grass of the field. Let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field, till 7 times pass over him. Let's look at this. They talk about leave the stump. So who was the first? Because, like I say, America don't even know who she represents in the Bible, see? So the first kingdom was the Babylonian kingdom. That's why the Creator is leaving the stump. It's because the tree got to grow again. So the Creator chopped down one tree, which is the Babylonian, the Chaldean Empire, or the Babylonian Empire under Nebuchadnezzar and them. Then the tree grew again. Who is the tree again? That's who? That's the Medo-Persian Empire. The Creator chopped down that tree. Then the tree grows again. Who is that? That's the Grecian Empire. The Creator chopped that tree down. It grows again. Who is that? That's the Roman Empire. So the Creator chopped the tree down, right? But who's coming out of the Roman Empire? It's what? The 10 toes, brothers and sisters. And who does the 10 toes represent, brothers and sisters? Let's look at this. Let's see who the 10 toes represent. 1 second. Right, who is the 10 toes? Britain, Germany, France, Belgium, Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, Italy, Switzerland, see? And who is the 4 European descendant nations that came out of Europe? That's America, State of Israel, South Africa, Australia, brothers and sisters, see? So when we look at the system, when we look at America, see, America too has looked upon the palaces and said, look at me flourishing in my palace. See, look what I have built. I'm able to take the wealth out of the ground. I got the industry. I'm able to, turn the natural resources into what? Trillions of dollars, see? But America too, see, she think that her gods done brought her into power. But in actuality, she brought America in power to do what? Chasing the nation of Israel. Let's look at something. Let's turn to the 12th chapter of the book of Revelation. I'm going to start reading 15 and the 16th verse. 12th chapter of the book of Revelation. 12th chapter of the book of Revelation. I'm going to start at the 14th verse. Now I'm going to start at the 15th verse and the 16th verse. It says, and the serpent, which is who? The adversary. And it says, and the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman. See? And who is the adversary in the mindset of? He's in the mindset of who? Of the Roman Empire, brothers and sisters. See, that's what I'm saying. Our history transcends, quote unquote, 1619, brothers and sisters. We was in slavery under the Babylonians. We was in slavery under the Medo-Persians, the Greeks, the Romans. Now we up under the slavery, up under the European common market system, brothers and sisters. See, which is headed up by America. So it says, and the serpent cast out of his mouth as a flood after the woman. What does the flood represent? The flood represents what? Slavery, brothers and sisters, and the educational system of slavery. They gonna set up, because Rome started it first, but eventually the children of the Roman Empire, which is the 10 toes, they gonna set up what you would call white supremacy, brothers and sisters. And then eventually they're going to come over to the shores of Africa, so-called Africa and the West Coast, and they're going to take us into captivity. So what is some of the flood that we're going to be endowed with? We're going to be endowed with slavery in the country, discrimination, brainwashing. See? Brainwashing. You ain't Israel no more. You a colored man. You an African American. A Negro, color, coons and shines. See? That's the flood. We're gonna antagonize you. Every time you create something in the country, Black Wall Street, whatever you create, see, to try to fight against us, we're gonna do what? We're gonna destroy it. See? You set up leaders that's going to try to help you get free. We're going to wash them away. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, see? Huey P. Newton. All the rest of these people, these freedom fighters that was fighting for us. But the educational system in this country, what did it do? It brainwashed us. It taught us that we made no contributions to human history, that we was a race of nobodies. This is the flood that we talking about. That in order that you're a Gentile, in order for you to get up under the Creator and be saved, that you got to come through who? You got to come through the Christians. This is the mentality of the system. See? This is the mentality of the system, right? So it says, and see, when they was coming over here in the 1600s or the 1700s, the Roman Empire, they knew who they was coming to get, brothers. And they knew that they was coming to get the nation of Israel. But later on through the educational system, now, because see, in order for you to teach racism in the country, you got to brainwash your own people. See? That's what I'm saying. The whole world is following this. And it says, what I leave off at? And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. See? That's how you're going to be carried away, through what? Discrimination. Hangings in the country. They're going to take your children. They're going to use them as alligator bait. The eugenics program. See? All of this type of stuff. But the 16th verse says what? And the earth helped the woman. Who is the earth? That's the Creator. Because the Creator saying what? I put you in this condition. I'm finna bring you out. That's why we able to read. That's why we able to get history. And people write down different books that relates to the so-called black man being the parent, not the parent stock, but the nation of Israel. See? We go back and read these histories. Now we're starting to understand. We understand the history of what? Iconoclasm, where they started to whitewash a lot of the black characters that was ruling in Europe. See? See, we didn't know that under the Republic, that John Hanson, which is the so-called black man, that he was the first president. See, these are the lies that was taught to us in history, that George Washington was the first president, brothers and sisters. See? And not so much of that, but the Creator is doing what? He's reintroducing us back to ourselves. That's what he's doing. So it says, and the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood that the dragon cast out of his mouth. See? All of that false teaching that we was taught throughout the years in this country. Because now the Creator is saying what? I'm going to give you permission to go forth. See, at first he didn't give us that permission. Now we have the permission to stand as a nation of people. See? So when we go back to the book of Daniel, the 4th chapter, it says, I'm going to start at the 23rd verse. It says, and whereas the king saw a watcher and the Holy One come down from heaven, saying, hewn the tree down, destroy it, yet the leave, it says, destroy it, yet leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field till 7 times pass over him. Right? This is the interpretation, O king, and this is the decree of the Most High, which is come upon my Adon the king, that they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling place shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make thee eat grass as oxen, and they shall wet thee with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over thee, and thou, it says, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of man, and giveth it to whomsoever he. So what's going to happen to Nebuchadnezzar? He going to have a nervous breakdown. See? He going to have a nervous breakdown. It's because the people that he was dehumanizing, the people that he was putting in slavery, was of the nation of Israel. See? And this is the same thing with America. The system is having a breakdown. The economical system is falling. It's collapsing. The morale of the people is at an all-time low. Because when you came into the country, you professed yourselves to be a Christian. Right? You had the father going to work. The woman stayed at home. The children they were subdued under their parents. But now these kids, they don't even have no respect for their parents. No. And this is what you taught the people around the world. But when you was teaching them that, right, you was doing what? When our people was living among you dehumanized us. You told us we was nothing. See? So the system is having a nervous breakdowns because why? The system is falling. It's going to be driven into the wilderness like a man. See? Because that's the breaking down of the system. See, the Creator got to break you down first. See, you too high-minded. You and your glow. Can't nobody tell you nothing. You making trillions of dollars. If you tell this person to go, he gonna go. See? You like a God in a sense. And you have presented yourself as a false God amongst the people. So now the Creator has to do what? He got to break you down. And this is what's happening to the system. It is being broken down right before our eyes. And a lot of us can see, but a lot of us is not going to see. So with that, brothers and sisters, we're going to do part 2 of the Archie Bunker effect. Shalom.